Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good night, everyone. Inshallah, I hope everybody is well. Today is Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. We are approximately about 20, how many days for Ramadan? Maybe
28.
about 20. Inshallah. So I hope everybody is preparing, and I pray that we all reach the blessed month of Ramadan. Tonight is episode 5 of BAMBAR Pioneers Conversations with our elders, alhamdulillah. Tonight we have a special guest, Brother Abdur Rashid Davis, alhamdulillah. And tonight we will be interviewing him about his life and his legacy, inshallah. For those who don't know who I am the founder of BAMBAR, which is Black American Muslims Born and Raised. And we have Rabia Davis, mashallah, the daughter of Brother Abdur Rashid, alhamdulillah. And it's an honor to have you. Assalamu alaikum. It's inshallah, we will be inshallah, talking with Brother Abdur Rashid about his life, his legacy. I have a whole bunch of questions to ask him, right? Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, everybody that's tuning in will benefit and learn something. Okay. Alhamdulillah. So without further delay, Rabia is going to read the bio for her dad. Inshallah.
All right. Abdur Rashid Davis, also known as Alexander James Davis, was born in Pennsylvania. He came into Islam in 1980 after lots of research and a gift from a sister in the area of a Quran. He is the father of 6 children, 15 grands, and 6 great-grands. He first made the pilgrimage to Hajj in 1983 and has completed it twice. Brother Abdur Rashid is a graduate of Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where he earned, where he studied electronics. He later went back to school in the 60s and earned an associate degree from Clemson University in South Carolina in agricultural business farming. Brother Abdur Rashid established a masjid called An-Nur Islamic Center in 1984. It's a masjid in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He performed marriages, Friday khutbahs, served as an advisor, oversaw the running of an Islamic school, and facilitated the feeding of the underprivileged in his local communities. Brother Rashid has also organized wellness and retreats where he taught brothers survival and readiness skills, as well as an Islamic youth retreat that included families from many different states. Brother Abdur Rashid has lived in multiple cities up and down. He assisted in establishing community programs wherever he settled. Brother Abdur Rashid has created architectural blueprints to help build Islamic communities that are for us, by us. In the process, he has collaborated with many Muslim pioneers, such as Imam Siraj Wahaj, Imam Jamil Alamin, Imam Dawood, Imam Bukhari, and Sheikh Farouk, among others. Known for his creativity, Brother Abdur Rashid taught himself to remodel homes, later establishing his own construction company. He also spent a lot of time working as a skilled jeweler, handcrafted sterling silver, brass, and copper with semi-precious stones for his company, Earth Spirit Silversmiths. Brother Abdur Rashid now runs his family farm, the Davis Family Organic Farm in South Carolina. In his free time, he enjoys reading, fishing, and farming. That's my daddy.
MashaAllah. What a legacy. MashaAllah. And I have questions. MashaAllah. I spoke to Brother Abdur Rashid yesterday, but I definitely have more questions for him, inshallah, because he's lived a very full life. Alhamdulillah. And so we're going to dive right into these questions. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Abdur Rashid. How are you feeling today?
You're on mute, Daddy.
Oh, let me unmute. I'm sorry. Oh, he got to unmute it. Hold on. Press the mic. Okay, so let me see. Do you see a mic, Brother Abdur Rashid? A microphone? Or it says unmute? Alhamdulillah. Okay. We're back in business. Alhamdulillah. So thank you for being here tonight, Brother Abdur Rashid. How you feeling?
Good for an old man.
Alhamdulillah. So I wanted to jump right into the interview. If you can tell us a little bit about your background, where were you born and raised, and how was your family structure growing up?
I was born and raised in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, capital of Pennsylvania. And that's about it. I mean, where I was born and raised at, but
Right. Well, how was life growing up in Harrisburg?
it was great. It was great. It was really great because of my mother, who our family farm is dedicated to. You may have seen the films, what's called, Hidden Numbers, or whatever it
Yeah.
was, with the three sisters.
Hidden Figures.
Yeah. My mother was one of those women.
Really?
Yep. She was not in the space program. She was in computers. And in 1960s, she worked for the government, programming computers, and going around teaching other people programming computers. And they paid her seriously. My mother paid her house off in 10 years, 5-bedroom, nice brick house, decent neighborhood we grew up in. Nice backyard, nice front yard. Not only she has 7 children, not only did she pay her house off in 10 years, when she passed away early at 49 years old, she had $20,000 in the bank, which she passed on to her children. This is in the 1960s.
Wow.
Single women, has 7 children, and $20,000 in the bank in 2023.
Wow.
And not
Did
only
she
did
ever
she,
get married? Was she married? Did you?
yeah, she was my father. And my father died at an early age during the Korean War at 28 years old.
Okay. How many siblings did you have? You said
6.
7? How many
And not
siblings
only,
did you have again?
huh?
How many siblings did you have again?
6.
6. Okay. Alhamdulillah.
3 brothers and 3 sisters.
MashaAllah. Wow, that's a powerful legacy. Your mom was one of the hidden figures. That's powerful. Wow, subhanAllah. That's a legacy indeed. So tell us a little bit about your schooling growing up, education.
Harrisburg at the time was in the throes of white escape. And a lot of the neighborhoods are mixed, half black, and what the real estate agents did with that. And I went to William Penn High School, then John Harris, then Harrisburg High. Used to be two. William Penn and John Harris were the 2 different high schools. But I went to William Penn initially, and then they combined the schools and turned it into Harrisburg High. And the school at that time was about 50-50, 50 black, 50 white.
Wow. So it's pretty diverse.
Yeah.
Okay. What type of did you grow up in a religious home?
No. My grandmother raised us, actually. because my mother was always at work. And she was religious. And she was like the matriarch of the family. Everybody during the whole family used to come and ask her advice, no matter who they are, men, women, ask Gramps advice. Called her Gramps, that was her nickname. And one thing that I always remember, she was fair and balanced. You see a lot of people, they have their favorites and stuff like that. Never with her. Fair and balanced with all of us children and all the people that she dealt with.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. So let's talk a little bit about your, I would say, okay. We talked a little bit about your search for religion. Can you talk a little bit about that? What religious practices were you into prior to accepting Islam?
I was mostly in the civil rights movement before I left Harrisburg. I'm talking about the 60s and the 70s and the Black Panthers and the Republic of New Africa. And I left Harrisburg when I was 20 years old, 21 actually. Moved to Philadelphia and got in contact with some brothers that I was actually the consul for the Republic of New Africa in Harrisburg. And I hooked up some of the brothers from the Republic of New Africa and was looking for a place to stay. And they let me stay at the Black House of Penn State University, not Penn State, University of Pennsylvania. At that time period, most universities, during the movement would have a section, just for the black people to meet, have meetings, organizing, things like that. And I stayed at the Black House for a while, and I met some brothers, met all kind of brothers, all type of people used to come through there. They're all different religions. They used to have religious seminars, lecture to the black students at a university. I belong to one organization called Black People's Topographical Research Center, where we took and gave lectures to the college students on being Black and what we needed as Black people, and the history of America and how Black people were treated. And one person that I met was two brothers actually, Mikhail and Tom, these two brothers, and they were Hebrew Israelites. And they were making jewelry, just so bent wire jewelry, bent wire earrings. And they taught me how to make them. And I made a display board for them. And I went up to 52nd Street the first time I was selling. Sat in front of the bank on 52nd Street and made $100 in an hour, maybe 2 hours. I said, oh, this is it. From then on, I taught myself how to make, more advanced type of jewelry. But the jewelry was my livelihood for several years. I used to travel all over the country doing art shows.
MashaAllah.
So from the influence of the brothers, I joined their organization of Hebrew Israelites, which was I hear it said like this, but it was a sect. A sect to the extent that it didn't have the type of structure that I was looking for in religion. The leader of the organization, or whatever his feeling was that day, that was the particular law of that day,
There was no consistency.
Right.
Understandable. So you joined the Hebrew Israelite Temple. How long were you a part of that particular organization?
Probably for about 5 years.
Okay.
Probably for 5. And it wasn't a temple, very loosely structured. We didn't have any meeting place, meeting each other's houses. And he had some contacts with some people who had land in New Jersey. And I was designated to be the head of this here project. We stayed there for about a year. Myself, my wife, and we had 2 children at the time, Hassan and Hussein.
Inshallah.
And that was my experience with wilderness camping, wilderness living. We lived in tents.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about that experience and what was the significance of that?
Significant was, separate yourself from the world, leave, create our own communities. And, so to start off, that the brothers that lived in the city that was part of the movement would continue to sell jewelry and to finance us. And we would build as, there. Well, we started out in tents and we started building a couple of structures, but it deteriorated before we really got much further. But I learned a lot out there. From those old farmers.
Mhm.
One farmer named Mr. Jesse, man, I learned a lot from him. He taught me how to dig a well. We dug our own
Wow.
well, 60 well by hand. And
Wow.
I see you today, show these people out here how to do it.
Amazing. How long were
Yeah.
you guys living in the tent?
I'm staying 9 months to a year, between 9 months and a year.
Okay.
Somewhere
So
with
how did the family adapt to that?
it was struggle.
Okay.
It was struggle. I really, really, really got to give my wife at the time some props because she soldiered it through.
MashaAllah. Shout out to the women that be sticking by their man. Alhamdulillah. So I want to get into a little bit about what led you to Islam. When was the first time you heard about Islam?
I know bunches and bunches of Muslims. Well, first time I heard about, anything that, had Islam in it was the Nation of Islam. When they moved to, when they started up in Harrisburg, the brother that was the head of it at that time, he's still the head of it. Not the head in Harrisburg, but he's actually in Atlanta now. Good brother. We went to high school together. And that was my first introduction to anything about Islam, even though we're not Muslims as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, okay. So he was the first person that you heard Islam from. So what led you to become Muslim? When did you take Shahada? And what led you to accept Islam?
I was studying all different religions. One thing that your time did press us on is to study. And I would study, Buddhism, Christianity, all of these different religions. And one of the things that I say, one of the first things that really appealed to me was 99 Names of Allah by Al-Ghazali. And the book was beautiful. The book had a beehive on it. The bees had written out, I don't know if they still make that copy, had written out Allah. And that happens pretty frequently. I'm a beekeeper and I see it.
Wow.
But anyway, I started reading Al-Ghazali. I really loved Al-Ghazali. And I started studying Sufism, right? And, there's so many different aspects of Sufism. But my thing was, I knew a lot of Sunni Muslims too. My thing was all these Sufis, so call themselves Sufis, and they go through all these different practices and ignore the Sunnah, prayer, and all the principles of Islam, and saying that's not needed now. That's what most people think of a lot of Sufis, but all aren't like that, And then when I started studying Al-Ghazali, I found he wasn't like that, And I really wanted more structure in raising my children. I've always wanted children, And Hebrew Israelite movement did not have it. So I started looking at the different movements, and I looked at one thing that was appealed to me was the women, in the sense that, not just because they're women, but with the women of Muslims, especially the Sunni Muslims, look clean, ordered, and organized. Whereas looking at some of the women in the other movements, they, like the Rastafarians in particular, the gals don't look too good.
Hmm. So you've seen a difference in how the women carried themselves.
Right, right.
Okay. Wow. What about the men? What did you think about Muslim men when you seen them?
With so many different contacts, different contacts on different levels. You had Nation of Islam. That's about the time period they was breaking away from teaching of Elijah Muhammad. Types of extremes.
Right.
Um, Guru Bawa, who was a Sufi, who eventually came back to Sunni Islam. In fact, we made Hajj together in '83. We didn't make it together.
What's his name again, Brother Abdur Rashid?
Guru Bawa,
Where was he from?
Philadelphia. It was a
Oh,
big
okay.
thing. He had a big movement in Philadelphia, and a lot of blacks joined his movement.
What was their ideology?
His ideology was a mixture of Hinduism and Islam.
Okay. Hinduism and Islam together.
And when he came back from Hajj, he said, he said, people don't call me Bawa anymore.
Oh,
I'm Muslim.
mashallah. What part of Philadelphia was he from?
I don't, he was Pakistani, I think. I don't
Oh,
think
okay. So he wasn't black. He was
Yeah.
Pakistani. Okay.
He's from Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka? Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. So tell us, so I want to get a little bit into your Shahada story, right? Like where did you take Shahada, in Philadelphia or Harrisburg? And how was it? How was that, your experience taking Shahada?
I went to Juma, said I want to take Jihad and just do Jihad. Philadelphia at the Broad Street Mosque with Ali Ahmed. Ali Ahmed was the Imam. Ali Ahmed, Abdur Rashid. Abdur Rashid. I made Hajj with those brothers too. The first time I made Hajj was with those brothers.
MashaAllah.
Abdur Rashid, Abdul Shakir.
Alhamdulillah. So you just went in one day for Juma and you decided to take your Shahada?
Mhm.
MashaAllah. So I want to talk a little bit about, okay, you become Muslim. How did your family respond to that?
It wasn't no surprise to them. I've always been an outlaw in the family. I was in the civil rights movement, really hard. I mean, I got busted and thrown in jail and beat up and whatever.
Oh.
And
The cops? Who
Huh?
did that? The cops?
Excuse me?
The police did that to you?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
more than once. Anyway, I never got any objection to it from my grandmother, Gramps. We never really talked about it like in depth, but this is something that, she felt, I felt that she felt that it's something you need to do. Now, my aunts and my aunties and my uncles, and they were totally against the movement, Why are you following these here people? All of them in jail and they've been criminals and all kind of things. They're just taking you down, pay little attention to them. So when I became Muslim, it was no thing where, what's he doing now?
It wasn't a big surprise because you was already for the revolution. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. That's cool. Did any of your relatives take Shahada after you or before you, or you were the first one?
No, my cousin Khadija took Jihad before me, and
Okay.
She is my mother. My mother's sister is her mother. And then I can't think of anybody else in the family that did.
Any friends became Muslim?
Uncle Farouk.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Especially when we started our school.
Now, Rabia, who's Uncle Fareed?
Farouk is my mom's
Farouk.
brother. Yeah.
Okay. Mashallah.
He Shahada years and years later as well.
Mashallah.
No, Rabbi. He took Shahada when we were still living on Real Street. Me and Hassan came. He took Shahada then.
Yeah, I'm saying years later than you.
Oh no, I thought you was talking about years later when he was active up in Harrisburg.
Years later than you had.
Okay, so you take Shahada. So do you and your wife take Shahada at the same time? How does that? How did that go?
My wife did not become Muslim.
Okay.
The wife had at the time.
Okay. So let's talk about Muslim names. Did you feel pressured to change your name when you became Muslim?
No.
Or okay. So you kept your name. So okay, so how's life as a new Muslim? You're Muslim, right? So you convert to Islam, mashallah, Philadelphia. How was your journey after converting, to the religion in terms of learning the deen, finding community? How was that?
I didn't think I looked at myself. Let me look at myself back then. I didn't think I was much of a change. I was always a rebel, and I always saw Islam as against what America's about. So I didn't think of like a big transition. It's more or less somewhere a road I was on, traveling on, and the road didn't change.
Okay. So was there anything that you struggled with when you became Muslim? Or was it easy to adapt to the changes and stuff like that?
No, I can't think of anything in particular that I struggled with because of becoming Muslim.
Okay. So it was pretty easy to fast, not eat pork, the women's, you know what I mean? Like those, I feel like those are certain things that maybe some people who are new to Islam struggle with. So it's very interesting to see how people adapt back then to the new way of life. Mashallah. So let's talk about a little bit about Harrisburg and establishing a community in Harrisburg. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
It was two masjids. Our masjid was the Sunni masjid, and the Walathi Muhammad masjid, which is the same brother that I told you about earlier. He was imam there. And they looked at us like, the startup Muslims, because they had their tradition for so many years, and we were just startups and totally controlled by the Arabs. And our masjid was open in the sense that we had Muslims coming from all over different parts of all over the world. We had a group of Sham Muslims that would come to our masjid. Sham is these ethnic Muslims from Cambodia, right? After the Vietnamese War, a group of Sham came to Harrisburg, and they were Muslim, and they were actually black. Actually, the Sham Muslims were by my color. Most of the African Muslims that lived in Harrisburg or were stationed in Harrisburg to work would come to our masjid, and I'd have some give kupas, and we would have.
play at that masjid and in terms of establishing the community there?
Hmm?
Which masjid was this?
This was our masjid, and or
Anor, okay. For
Islamic
those
Center.
who don't know what the name of the masjid, Masjid Anor in Harrisburg.
The masjid was
Mashallah.
Islamic Center in Central Pennsylvania.
Okay. So how was life there? Can you tell us a little bit more about life at Anor? It sounded like it was very diverse, mashallah.
Mostly African American. We attracted a couple of families from different cities, like the smaller cities in Harrisburg. A couple of the families, actually 3 of them, moved to be part of our masjid because the city there was too small. Like the family came from York, family came from New York City, actually Brooklyn. Another family came from, let me see, a couple more families were supposed to be moving there, but they never got there.
Okay. Any challenges there in terms of establishing Dean community
Any what?
challenges there? Your daughter told me you did a lot of things there at Masha Anor, mashallah.
Yeah. One of the really, really nice things we used to do. We had Friday night dinners. And I mean, it'd be crowded. We had videos and stuff for the kids. And, and actually some members of the other masjid, the Wallet masjid would come to our Friday night dinners. We'd have a big dinner every Friday and cook and be there from around 7 to 11 o'clock.
Wow. How was Eid's there? Ramadan.
We used to go to Philadelphia for the Eid.
Okay.
Had a big Eid.
I heard about the big Eids in Philadelphia, mashallah.
And Brother Lukman, who's moving to the farm by the end of the month, inshallah. He is a young brother who went to his family sent him to Saudi to study Quran. He became a Hafiz at 20 years old. He lived in Philadelphia. He used to come up to teach at our school, teach Arabic every Friday. He come up every Friday morning, come teach Quran.
Mashallah. Lukman Ahmed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, mashallah. His daughters are in BAMBAR, mashallah.
Okay, well,
alhamdulillah.
two of us are planning on moving here within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, alhamdulillah. That's good. What other roles did you play in that community?
Teach wilderness survival. People how to shoot, and we used to take 7 days at a time and go out with just 10 pounds of rice, 7 people.
Really? So you guys would just only eat rice during that time?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, we didn't only eat rice, we ate everything, all types of wild foods.
Wow, mashallah. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Rabia, is there anything you want to ask them about Masha Noor community?
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear the last part.
Is there anything you want to ask them about Masha Noor community?
Um,
To know about?
I remember how we used to do the retreats for the family. I know it was camping. Do you want to tell some of how you started that, Daddy, or how you put that together?
Okay.
Like the retreats.
We had a Muslim retreat, and how it jumped off is I'm still wondering how we attracted all those people when I was just nobody knew who I was.
Wow.
What I did was took and rented out a Boy Scout camp, a big Boy Scout camp. And Brother Luke Mon, he was the emir of the whole thing. He led all the prayers and everything. And I invited, African American mosques, not just African American, and any Muslim mosques from all around the country. And we got people from Cleveland, Chicago, North Carolina, South Carolina, not North Carolina, New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York, Brooklyn. I mean, it was loaded. I mean, they just came. They just came. And they brought 4 or 5 people from every community. Imam Siraj just had a whole group. They had around 10 people. Imam Siraj group came down. Well, I knew Imam Siraj before that. But his came down. Imam Obama.
Obama. Tell us a little bit about Obama, how you know him. We talked a little bit about him yesterday. MashaAllah.
We belong to this Black Muslim Imam organization. And he was a member of that. And
for those who don't know, he was a part of an organization called AIM, which was, I think, Africa Islamic Mission.
right.
And they were located in Brooklyn, New York. The Oyo family. I'll do that.
He was
So,
Imam, what you call his brother? Imam, the Ansar.
York, the Ansars, yes, that was his brother.
Right.
Okay, I'll do that. So how long were you doing those type of programs and retreats?
I started those when my sons were small. We used to go out. We used to go out for a week at a time. We hiked most of the Appalachian Trail in all of it in Pennsylvania, a big section of it in New York, and parts of it in Maryland. And we would just go out and hike the Appalachian Trail 5 days at a time. And
MashaAllah.
it's time for herbs and teaching people,
How many do it for, Daddy?
Hmm?
How many years did you guys do the retreats?
I'm still doing it when we moved to Cleveland.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's probably 6 years, maybe.
Yeah, more than that actually.
Okay.
So let's get into Cleveland. While we're here, let's get into Cleveland. So tell us a little bit about Cleveland, Ohio. You relocated there. What made you move there?
Well, for one thing, our school aged out, and we were having problems as far as people paying us tuition and everything. And our kids, were going past the 6th grade, and we did not have the momentum to actually take it past that level because a lot of people just weren't paying their tuition. So I knew Imam Dawood. I met Imam Dawood on Hajj in '83. Him and his whole entourage. And then when they started the group of the Black imams, when the Obama was there, we see each other more frequently. And he asked me to come out to the community to help him with the school. Because we already had structure as far from our school to go past 6th grade.
Right. Oh, so let's backtrack a little bit. Can you talk to us a little bit about establishing, the schools? I know that when you was in Harrisburg, you helped establish a school there as well.
Right now, it's much, much easier than it was back then.
Mhm.
We jump from a home school, and any religious organization in America can have their own school. They register with the state. As long as they comply with the state rules, they'll help you, give you support. It's not hard at all, especially starting a homeschool. Especially homeschooling now. It's so easy, and they got so many different types of groups doing homeschool.
Sure. Okay, so you were in Cleveland, right?
Mhm.
So you said you and Imam Daoud, you guys work together. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Um, we intended to help with the school when we went out there. You know, when you get out there, um, they were having, the school inside the masjid. They had maybe 15 to 20 students, but they wanted to grow. Imam Daoud was a political figure before he became imam, and he had a lot of political contacts. Actually, his brother used to be mayor of East Cleveland. So there was a building across the street, 30-unit apartment building that caught on fire and it was condemned. So between him and his brother, the city, we got them to donate the building to us for $1. So they donated the building for $1, and we want to put together a crew to convert as much of it as we could to a school. So I, with my background in construction, put together a crew, and we went over and we converted 5 apartment units to the school. And the school was exceptional with this one. The principal was Sister Hasina. And so the way that some of the programs we went together. I mean, if you go in it, you look like a raggedy school, but she was on it. One of the things as far as keeping up on the technical skills in the math is we used to recruit grad students, Arab grad students from the university. And they would come and volunteer, some of their time. We just here. So we get to, all those skills, computer skills and everything from people who were seriously qualified. And they would donate money too.
Mashallah. What was the name of that school again for those who might not know? What was the name of that school?
That was Islamic School of the Oasis, and it was TSO.
TSO. Okay. Alhamdulillah. So okay, so speaking of you building the school, how did you learn to do that? I mean, mashallah, that is a skill. What influenced you to build buildings and homes?
I used to make my own toys. It was just a natural thing. I was really good with my hands. Used to make wooden scooters. We used to make these little wooden guns called BB guns. I'm not BB guns. Bottle cap guns. They use rubber bands and shoot bottle caps. We made all kind of stuff,
Wow, amazing.
Make scooters out of 2x4s.
Daddy, what about, you said we were talking and you were saying something about someone helping you learn more about construction.
Papa John. It was just their brother, right? And he was a handyman. He did all the work at the house, everything. He could do anything. He electricity, plumbing, concrete, anything. And I would watch him the whole time he was there. Anything he was doing in the house, I would just watch him. I learned a lot from him. And it was just their sister who lived next door to us. Not our sister, but she had 2 brothers, right? Older sister. And her husband, Ham. That was his name. Anyway, she had 2 brothers, right? Now, a lot of people don't know, well, in Harrisburg, a lot of people don't know that Blacks own a lot of that property where those projects where their projects are today. And she had these 2 brothers, man. And I used to go out there and play with my cousins because they lived in that area. These brothers was building houses from the ground up. I said, what are you guys doing? We building the houses. Them 2 brothers built those houses from the ground up in about 2 months. And I'm, going to school and black people don't do stuff like this. I said, how can black people be doing stuff like this when, my young mind, we're being the condition that we are in. They building houses.
Amazing.
And I said back then, that's what I want to do eventually. I want to build houses too. And I did it.
MashaAllah. It seems like whatever you put your mind to, you did it.
I did
it. MashaAllah. Brother Abdur
Yeah.
Rashid, my mom is in the chat on Facebook, and she said that she used to go back in the days to the retreats. This is my first time hearing this. I had no idea.
We had brothers
MashaAllah.
all over the country, man.
Wow.
And it
And my
was
mom, she was a part of the Ansars before she joined Masjid Taqwa. So I don't know what era that was, but this is very interesting, mashallah. It's beautiful. So you built that, you helped build that school, mashallah, and you got new and qualified teachers. Can you tell us a little bit about the impact that it had, like on the community,
the community.
quality of the education there?
The community, man. I mean, like the young brothers. I think I told you the other day. The young brothers put together a group to get rid of the dope dealers in the community. I'm talking about these are young brothers, 12, 13, 14 years old. They cleaned up the community. My sons were in that group.
What was the environment like? I mean, around that time in Cleveland?
It was ghetto. We were right in the middle of the ghetto.
It was ghetto.
It was-
Drug infestation, was it, a lot of crime?
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
So the brothers were successful with their cleanup, with the cleanup.
They just they told the brothers, you cannot be selling drugs in this neighborhood around the masjid. We serve Allah, I mean, we are religious people. We're not trying to hurt anybody, but this is a bad influence on them. Well, you got to talk to my sons, man, because they put the group together, and they give you more information about it than I could.
MashaAllah.
And we had Sheikh Masood from Ghana. That's our piece. I used to live right in the apartment next to him when we were living here. And every night, not every night, but several nights a week, he's practicing Quran, so he don't forget anything. But he has become like a religious leader in Cleveland still. He leads all the Eid prayers and everything, and everybody respects him. But he's a good brother. And he was the head person in the Islamic Studies department in the school.
MashaAllah. A few weeks ago, I had interviewed Sister Tahira Abdullah. She spent some time in Ohio as well, and she talked about Sheikh Masood as well as Sister Hasina in very high regard. So alhamdulillah. So Cleveland. So mashallah, helped build a school, right? Ground up. The protection, right? So you told me a little bit about the trainings that you guys did there too. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I would take groups of brothers out. We would camp for about a week and just go through how to survive in the wilderness and how to protect yourself and your family. The last one was a big one. I think we hit around 12 brothers out of Cleveland.
MashaAllah. Can I ask you about marriage life in these communities? We talked a little bit about Harrisburg and Ohio. How was marriage like in these communities? Were people getting married? What was the process like? I'm very curious.
Married life reflected a lot of the cultures of the people who lived in, sometimes it's good, sometimes it was bad. but it had too much of a reflection on the culture that we were living in, as far as people practicing things that deviated from Islam, the way, especially where women were treated.
Well, how do you feel like the women were treated?
Unfair.
How did you feel like the women were treated?
Unfairly.
Oh, okay.
I feel that way today. One of the things that I'm writing on right now is
Wow.
The effect of Western society and living in this type of society has on our Islamic practices. And some of the things that we have adapted permeates our Islam, which are not Islamic practices. As far as the man being the head of the house and the woman subject to him. I don't look at it that way. I think woman is the head of the house, man is the head of the world. As far as, and the reason that his has the last word, because he is responsible for protecting the wife and the children from everything that's out there, and he's the one that knows what's going on out there. That's the primary reason why he is above her. There is no he be more equal than him, she's better than him. They are equal packages of a complete, sphere. And what she does is just as important, or maybe more important, than what he does.
Okay, Daddy, I hear you.
And I see, brother.
So let's talk a little bit about what were some things that you've seen that you felt was, flawed, like in terms of treatment of women in the communities. And what was the response from leadership and other brothers as well as sisters? How did they respond to it?
How respond to women?
Okay, yeah. So the first part is, how did leadership respond to the injustices that sisters were,
you have different levels.
experiencing?
I think some really, really silly stuff, man, as far as the way they look at it. Look at it from a very, very chauvinistic position that, well, the man's superior, he can beat his wife if he wants to, and all that type of stuff. Brothers in my masjid, I stepped to a couple of the brothers a couple of times. I said, brother, if you ever touch this woman again, ever, and they knew, and they back it off. Because I wasn't no bad guy, but I had like a little bit of reputation as far as being able to fight, and they knew I had guns. So I stepped to him. I said, nah, this don't happen. This does not happen. You may not have come to this masjid. Your children and your wife does. If you ever touch her again, I'm going to fire you up.
I love it. That's right. Accountability. MashaAllah. How do you feel about the leadership's response to it? Do you feel like it was adequate? Do you feel like they didn't hold them, accountable? How do you feel about the leadership's response?
You got different leaders, it depends who the leader is. You got different leaders, different personalities. I think I told you yesterday that one of the things that I questioned when I did become Muslim was leadership and imams. For instance, like a lot of position that the African American imams especially took was that they were recharged and responsible for everything, regardless of their level of Islamic, understanding. If it's somebody else that has a larger Islamic understanding, that's not necessarily the person that's chosen. That's one of the things that I tried to do when we had Ann Noor is put, because I wasn't qualified to be no imam, but I would put people in positions to give the learning that imam's supposed to give. Like Brother Farouk, I'd have him come up every Friday and teach his lesson. The brother from Nigeria, I forget his name, Rashid. I had him teach at the school. He worked with AT&T. He was over here for a year with AT&T, get some training for back in his country. And he's there for a year and he taught Arabic. And anybody, I gave cookbars maybe twice a month. If I found somebody who's more qualified that can give a cookbar that day, that person should give that cookbar. We're teaching Islam, you know. And a lot of brothers look at it that way, you know. Well, he's a imam and he has to be, and he makes all the decisions. You don't make all the decisions. You give the decisions to the best decision makers.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. I like the way you think, and I think that a lot of people like me who are born and raised feel that some of the messages should have diversity, you know, like a board, right? So you have different people that specialize in different things. It's not just everything on one person,
Right.
or one man show, right?
Right.
So alhamdulillah. Wow.
And then I
So
say
money
about
gets it. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Rabia, is there anything else that we can touch on about Cleveland?
I don't think so. That's
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay. So let's get into Rochester, New York. What led you to Rochester, New York?
mostly money. We had a kiosk at a mall in downtown Rochester. And we used to go there to do art shows, you know, maybe every 3 months. And the people would just spend money. We made so much money up there. It's crazy. So
Wow.
we got a chance to move there and sell there all the time. And we did,
MashaAllah.
you know.
Alhamdulillah.
I
MashaAllah.
there too.
What you say, Rabia?
To work there, selling jewelry
Right with your dad?
at the kiosk at the mall.
MashaAllah. Now I see why you a hustler. You get it from your daddy, girl. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So Sheikh Abdur Rashid, we're gonna get a little bit into establishing Islamic community in Rochester. It seems like every community that you went to, you played a part, and especially like in education, leadership. So talk a little bit about.
We didn't establish community. The community was already there. We had
Okay.
the foreign, I think most of them were from Saudi. And they had
Rochester, they were from Pakistan.
Pakistan. Okay.
Yeah.
They built a masjid, a beautiful masjid from the ground up. And, you know, I used to go there for Jummah. And I said, where's the school? But we don't have a school right now. We're planning on that in the future. I said, we had this beautiful masjid and you don't have a school? So we had all of our literature and stuff and all of our you know, experience from the two schools we were at before. And I said, well, let us use this space and start a school. Well, brother, I don't know if we can do that, brother, because we have to talk to the board. I said, brother, this space belongs to the Muslims. We have to teach the children. And he couldn't argue with me.
So what happened after that?
What
happened after that?
We had the school there for the time that we lived in Rochester. And Rochester, where did we go from Rochester? To Atlanta.
Okay. What was the name of the masjid in Rochester?
Didn't have a name. We didn't have a name. I can't remember it.
Islamic Center of Rochester. They call it ICOR.
And another thing too, another thing that pushed it too was pushed over our credit as far as Pakistanis was concerned. Because the fact my wife at the time was European. We go in there and have conversations, and I'm talking to them and asking them a question and looking at them for an answer.
Oh, they wanted to speak to the Caucasian sister. They didn't want to speak to the Black brother.
No, it wasn't even that. It was like, I ask a question, we're having a conversation, and then when it comes time for them to answer a question, they answer it to her as opposed to me. It shows the racism that's, you know, not not necessarily racism, but racial preference that these people have towards white society.
Wow. Amazing. Did
Like,
you check them? Did you check them for that? Did they continue to do that?
that's way, but I'm talking to you, brother. I'm talking to you. Oh, okay.
That's interesting. So, you helped establish the school in Rochester, right?
Yeah,
Okay. What was the name of that school?
it didn't have a name. We just called it the name of the masjid.
Oh,
Madrasa. Daddy's older. I'm gonna
it's
help.
okay. You can help him out a little bit.
Madrasatul al Islamia.
Okay.
That's what you guys called it on the paperwork.
Okay, I don't remember.
Mashallah.
I'm old.
Yeah, you're a little bit old, Daddy.
Mashallah. So, in those schools, you didn't teach. You just basically help do what exactly there?
Help with structure, organizing, putting programs together.
Okay.
But I'm gonna
I
tell you,
wanted
the camp, even to today, it surprised me, and it was beautiful. Everybody got along.
What kind of camp was this, brother Abdur Rashid?
We rented the YMCA with campgrounds in
Nice,
Pittsburgh.
nice. Mashallah. Okay, so Rochester. So let's talk a little bit about your travels abroad. You told me a little bit about that. You traveled to a few countries. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about your travels?
Um. Yeah. Been to Hajj. I went to Hajj for 3 times: 183, 181, 183, one in 90, and one in 91. I took my wife at that time on Hajj in 90. And the following year, I took my oldest son. He just graduated, and he applied for Al Azhar University, and he was accepted. And his first year of college, he did at Al Azhar. And I really liked Egypt. I really liked the people there.
Mashallah.
And he got an apartment over there. We got an apartment, a really, really nice 2-bedroom apartment, like a modern apartment, $120 a month. So when I would go to Africa, I would go over and spend some time with him in his apartment, and travel to different Muslim countries I wanted to go to. And the first one was Sudan. Went to the Sudan for a short visit. And then I came back to the States, and my middle son wanted to go to school in the Sudan, right? So him and his wife, we packed up and we went to Sudan. Actually went to Cairo first and spent some time in Cairo. And they went to the Sudan, and we got this place. It was like a place where visiting workers who went to Sudan would go to. And at that time it was before the breakup, between the breakup of North and South Sudan. But there was a lot of friction. And that's one of the things that I did not agree with the northern Muslim, and the southern were animalistic, and pagan religions. And Christian, the Christians who were trying to convert them, of course. And there were some missionaries down there all the time, and says, food and things down to help them out. But the northern, they call themselves Arabs. It's Sudanese. They do speak Arabic, and they are mixed Arabs. And all of them they remind you of Americans as far as the variation in color. Not as much variation as us. Most of them are my color. And the place we stayed at was the type of place that visitors who come to Sudan to do work stay at, right? So I'm at a hotel one day, And it's a white missionary, he comes up to the desk and he does some business with the desk. And he said, well, how far is that? Did he tell him how far places and whatever? Gets the information you needed. He said, okay. And I introduced myself and I said, how you doing? I said, you're going down south. He said, I have some medicine to take to the people down there at our missionary hospital. I said, you mind if I drive with you? Ride along with you? Because I would like to visit the south and see what people like are down there. So he said, okay. So I get a car. He has one of those, what you call them, Range Rover. We get in this Range Rover and he has it packed full of medicines and stuff. And we drive down the coast. And it takes about, I think it takes about 4-hour drive. And we get to this here place with a huge tent and it's a hospital, right? And he goes in. I said, okay, I'll go with you. He said, sure. So we go into the hospital and he's talking to the doctor. Doctor is Nigerian. I was surprised to see a Nigerian doctor in a Southern Sudanese hospital. So he's talking to the doctor, and his sister walks in with this baby in her arms, below the stomach, flies flying around his eyes. Doctor, please help me. Please help my baby. Her baby was starving to death. The doctor comes out, looks at the baby, and he said, I'm glad you came today. Takes him in the back, attends to him and give us some of that, it's a liquid that they give people who are starving at that level. The baby started getting better, and he gives her some medicine, pick with her. And I'm looking at this lady. I reach in my pocket and I give her a 50-pound note. A 50-pound note is a lot of money in Sudan. And the Nigerian doctor said, no, don't do that. I said, what you mean don't do that? He said, look, I'll take the money and hold it for her and give her so much every week. If she takes that money into the marketplace, they will beat her and steal it from her and beat her every day, hoping she can get some more. I saw that. That changed my whole attitude as far. I never, ever, ever want to see anybody hungry again. Hungry, not starving, just hungry. And that's what this farm's about.
Oh, wow, what an experience. Oh, this is why I encourage everybody to travel outside the United States of America to get experience and see how other people are living in other places.
All right.
Because it's real in the field, subhanAllah. What other countries have you traveled to as well? You said, I think, East Africa too?
No, Ethiopia.
Oh, Ethiopia. Yeah, that's on the east. Yes. Okay. MashaAllah. Okay. So what else do I have on this list? Going down the list.
East Africa, though. Around Egypt.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about the retreats? You were telling me that you used to do some retreats for the brothers and you guys used to go like to Catskills and stuff like that.
Mostly it was survival. I mean, this was hard, especially people who never did it before, And I made sure it was hard that, down wasn't nobody die, but you want to survive,
Right.
Some of the brothers I took on a few was some of the Fuqra brothers.
Oh, from the Fuqra. Okay. So for those who don't know about the Fuqra, that they were a part of the Dar Islam movement, and when it split, a part of the community had branched off into the Fuqra. For those who don't know, so mashallah.
My cousin and her children belong to the movement, and they have a community right near here. It's only 50 miles away from our farm, and I've done consulting for them for their farm. I did one major one around 10 years ago, and did one recently as far as teach them how to keep bees and set up their garden and how to get grants from the USDA. And,
Mashallah. Let's talk about a little bit about your love for agriculture. I know you went back to school in your 40s, right? To pursue your education in agriculture. Can you talk a little bit about that? Rabia, I said something wrong.
I was saying he was in his 60s.
Oh, mashallah. Oh, okay. Mashallah.
yeah.
I know that's right. Keep going. Mashallah. So can you tell us a little bit about like your love for agriculture and like what inspired you to like keep going?
I've been an organic gardener since way back. I'm talking about 1980, 85 in that area. And I've always, any place that we get a house, I put a garden there, some big, some small. And it's always been a passion for me growing things. And my grandmother, she didn't have a garden, but she knew all about the herbs and the trees and everything. And she would teach us about the herbs and what this herb would do. And if you gather that in this here time of year, and she knew all that stuff. And she has Indian ancestry from, actually, if you look at her, she looks just like an Indian from out Pittsburgh area. But as far as wanting to grow things and growing things, it's always been a passion with me. And it fits in with what I'm doing right now. Allah bless me, everything that I've done in my life, all these different things that I've been involved in, was preparation for where I'm at right now. Because a lot of people don't realize it. Well, a lot of people don't know, a lot of people are too comfortable. America's going down. This is the twilight of empire. And it's just not happening in the world. Things that have been happening for the last 3 years, back to back to back, world plague. It's going down. And I do not want my grandchildren to suffer the same way they did the last depression. The depression in 1939, 25% of white people, 24% of white people were unemployed. 56% of black people were unemployed. Last hired, first fired. And it's going to affect black people much more. I say black people, Muslims, much more than it's going to affect the European because of the history that we're in right now. I read a book on what this program, as far as writing up and putting it together, the 9-year project. We're in our 5th year. It was a 9-year project. Well, to this point that we're at now. We're in our 5th year. It's outlined. The whole project is a 20-year project. The first 5 years are just done. The first 5 years is just building infrastructure, getting to the point where if this you need is going to be here, this you need is going to be here. Next year is supposed to be our first big commercial year, which inshallah it will be. But we have so many things in place that we're not dependent on it being commercial. We want to feed people that need food. The yuppies will come and buy our organic produce. That'll support the maintenance of the people who need food. One of the things that when I came out here, and we live in a very poor regional, rural area. And, just here, one black dude all out here by himself. I mean, that's not a comfortable situation. What I did was put together a program to help to create allies. And one of the things that I did when I first moved here, it's one family that owns about 7 pieces of property out here. The family that I bought this property from. And I said, well, how? And then they feud with each other. but I don't get involved. None of the feud. I don't take either side. I'm friends with both sides. They call me Mr. Davis. 70-year-old one. I said, don't call me Mr. Davis. Call me AJ. Okay, Mr. Davis. And what I did was set up a structure where you could make friends. A lot of them are very poor. Give them fruits, give them food. You know, just give it to them. You hungry? Here's some food. Share what we have with all the neighborhood. I set up a buffer zone between the hostiles, because there are some rednecks out here, hostile rednecks, and them. And one of the guys I made friends with who is the baddest dude in the neighborhood. And he knows, he'll tell him too. He said, you miss Mr. Davis to see what happens to you.
Wow.
And I try to teach that principle to other people I consult who are setting up their farms, because it can get real nasty.
Wow.
One of
When
the-
did you, since we're talking about it, when did you actually start like the farm? When did you buy it? When did you start, working on it?
I went to school first. Actually, the first year I was at school, Clemson, was the year before we got the farm. And the year we got the farm was 2017. Just 2017.
What's the
And
full name of the farm again? So everybody can look it up.
organic farm.
Okay.
The Davis Family Organic Farm.
Okay. So the plan is written out as a 20-year plan, broken up into 5 years. We completed what we were supposed to do in the first 5 years. One main thing on the farm that I stress, no debt. We could be way further than we are right now if we have cured any debt, buying big tractors and all that type of stuff. No debt. Our farm is completely paid for. We have no mortgage. That's how Black people lose their farms. In 2000, I mean, in 1910, the year 1910, Black people own 10% of the farms in America. Today, they own less than 1% of the farms or farmland in America. A lot of it got stolen. A lot of it had a bad season, couldn't pay the taxes, it's lost. But that's a key thing that I stress. Don't accrue debt in this time period, not in this time period. Things worldwide are financially so unstable. Americans, they have a way of looking at things like, well, everything's going to be okay. Well, everything's going to be okay if for the last 100 years, you constitute 4% of the population of the world, but consume 40% of the resources of the planet.
Wow, amazing. Wow. So what advice do you have for people who want to, I was going to ask you this towards the end, but I'll ask you now. You said don't acquire debt. So what are some ways that people can avoid debt if they get into this business, the farming business?
One of the things that I did, you don't want mortgage debt. Mortgage debt is really crazy, because if you take a $100,000 house and you take a $30-year mortgage, you're going to wind up paying $185,000. And you don't own the house, you're renting the house. If you miss 5 payments, they come and they take the house back. That means you never owned it from the get. They're talking about, I own the house, you don't own nothing. You rent to the bank. And depending on what type of mortgage you have, a lot of people don't realize this here, don't want to face the fact that during the last recession, the Obama oversaw and showed us out, 50% of all Black-owned properties were confiscated. 50%. That's half of all the Black people in America that own property was confiscated in that time period because of debt. And you look at it today, well, it's not going to happen today, you know, hope and change. Oh, yeah. One thing that I did was this. We, the family, you know, we set up our LLC, and when each family member donated so much a month, you know, some donated more than others. And we had gotten to the point where we had about $20,000 in the bank, 30,000. And this here property came up and looked at the property, and it was perfect. The family was feuding back then. What the original price of the property was $97,000. The family was feuding back then, so we came back with an offer. Okay, we offer 65. And the family said, no, we can't do that. I talked to her sister, and I said, look, let's do this. Let's get some more money. So how are we gonna do that? I said, if you co-sign for me, I'll take out the loan for $25,000. We'll offer them cash for the property. I took out the loan, and as opposed to paying $80,000 of crazy mortgage interest on the loan, I only had to pay $250 was the total interest that I had to pay on that $25,000 loan. I got $25 cash. We went to him with cash in our hand and said, here, we got $50,000 cash, sell us the property. Okay. And there's different ways of doing it, you know. And the property is beautiful. And right now, with this the improvements we made on and everything, it's worth you know, twice so where we're way more than what we paid for it. Way more than what they were asking for.
MashaAllah. How many acres do you have?
We have 13.6.
Nice.
I rounded off to 15. I always have 15.
Alhamdulillah.
And it's beautiful. We have 3 ponds. And the natural spring comes out the side of the hill that feeds the first pond. First pond flows into the second one. Second one flows into the third one. We have 4 acres, a total wooded area. We have open fields and meadows. It's beautiful.
MashaAllah.
Allah gave this to us. I mean, this was a gift from Allah to get this here type of property for the price that we pay for it. And what's here?
Alhamdulillah. What part of South Carolina is this land in?
It's
Farm.
it's in the Midlands. It's exactly halfway between Charlotte and Columbia. Both of them are an hour from here.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Sounds like a road trip to me. Alhamdulillah. I would love to come see the land, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. So I wanted to ask you about Atlanta. We didn't touch Atlanta. But I wanted to ask you about Atlanta, about your experience there in that particular community, under Imam Jamil Alameen. So you could talk a little bit about Atlanta, when you got there, and the community life there, inshallah.
In Atlanta, it was like you know, it wasn't no, I don't know, what could I say? It didn't start nothing, you know, it just worked. My first thing with Atlanta, I was into mostly jewelry. And then I started getting into construction. In fact, one of the brothers over the mosque got me my first decent construction job, renovating a building for him, right? And I renovated the building. And then another brother came and saw the level of the work. And he said, man, you should be building houses. I said, who am I gonna build houses for? He said, why don't you build something for me? And I hooked up with this brother. And I built, I built maybe 9 houses for him and duplexes. And I knew the construction part of the business, and he knew the business part of the business. And I mean, as far as dealing with banks, loans, clients who are buying a house and stuff like that. He taught me that. And then the housing collapse came in 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009. No construction whatsoever as far as new properties going on in Atlanta. I went bankrupt, went through a very bad period with my wife where I was screwing up, not paying no bills or nothing. And we got a divorce. And then I moved to Rochester.
Okay, so Rochester came after Atlanta.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
Daddy.
I'm sorry. Charlotte.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, no, you went to Atlanta in 96. Then the rest of us all trickled down until 99. And then after you were in Atlanta, then you came to Charlotte for, a year to stay with us. And then you went to California. And then back to
Okay.
North
yeah.
Carolina area.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That sounds about right from what he was telling me the other day. But can you talk a little bit about the West End community in Atlanta and your relationship with Imam Jamal?
I was not really a worker in the community. I would go past. I would go to gym all the time, but I would go when something that needed to be done to fix, or some siding or something was falling off. I would fix that. I was not a what you would call, some of the brothers said bayat to the imam. I did not have bayat to the imam. But we knew each other. We spoke to each other casually.
Okay.
Daddy was low key in Atlanta. He was like, I'm chilling now.
Really? Okay. So he wasn't like frontliner in Atlanta. Okay.
Yeah.
I've
always been low key, man. Right?
Well, I mean, okay, so let's talk about the Bay'ah a little bit. Was there pressure to do that at that time? Because I know you attended, the West End, but was there pressure for you to give?
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, when I went over there one time, they had siding was falling off the side of the building. I went to Lowe's Boston Siding, came and was putting the siding up. One of the brothers did have Bay'ah. He came up to me and he said, "What are you doing, brother?" He said, "I'm trying to fix this, man. You get permission from the building committee or whatever?" I said, "No, man, but it needs to be done." He said, "Well, okay, well, you got to talk to the imam." I went over to talk to the imam. I said, "He said that I had to go to this here committee to do this here, man. I just saw this here thing need to be done, and I just went and did it." I said, "Go and do what you're doing, man."
I'm sure. But were you a part of the community when Imam Jamal got
Yeah.
when he became incarcerated? So
Yeah,
how was it around the time when that happened? How did it affect the community?
It wasn't nothing they could do, I tell you one thing I do think that they did that I would have did differently. This is after you went to jail and everything, and it was, selected an imam. They had this Arab brother who loved Jamil. Him and his family moved right across the street from the masjid, the one that's on the small building. Became part of the community. Donated to the community. He had a good, decent business. Gave cookbars occasionally. The best cookbars I heard in the masjid, even better than Jamil's. Came time to select an imam. He should have been the imam. The only reason he didn't select an imam because he wasn't African American.
Very controversial statements. I appreciate it though. Unpopular opinions, but it's okay. I welcome it. Why do you feel like that brother should have been the imam at the time? Because of his qualifications?
He was the most qualified. That's who you hire, the most qualified. He knew more about Islam. He showed his love for the community. Them Arabs don't come in the middle of no black neighborhood. You know that. In the middle of the black neighborhood. In the middle. And gave good cookbox too.
What was the name of that brother?
I can't remember his name.
Okay. But he was a part of the West End community?
Yep. He had Bayat.
Oh, he gave Bayat too?
Yep.
Oh, okay. SubhanAllah. MashaAllah. Wow. That was interesting. MashaAllah. What other effects was there like after that? Did you continue to, to go to West End after that? After he was, incarcerated?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you work with any other masjids in the Atlanta area? Like, or attended any other masjids? Besides the West End?
In fact, Imam Furqan is coming up to the farm next week, inshallah. He's been here before, but he has 50 acres in Atlanta. He wants me to give me some recommendations on developing.
So Masjid Al-Mu'minun, Daddy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, so Imam Furqan is the Imam and okay. Okay. Anything else we need to touch on at Atlanta, Rabia?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Daddy was low-key.
Daddy over here shaking the room a little bit.
Shaking shingles.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about North Carolina a little bit. I know that you were there. Can you talk a little bit about the programs that you set up there?
Where?
In North Carolina?
Oh, here?
Yes. Well, Rabia was there, right?
Yep.
You were telling me about a program that you set up.
In Charlotte?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, yes. Daddy set up an amazing garden at an apartment that he lived at. Like, it was a whole section. It was huge. Was it like a quarter acre, Daddy? Maybe
Yep.
a little bit. Okay, so it was huge. And the apartment complex gave him the run of the place. He had all the vegetables there, all the in-season vegetables, corn, tomatoes, watermelon. Did you do okra?
Mm-hmm.
I have pictures. It was beautiful.
Wow.
And what did you guys do with the food, Daddy? You distributed it to the residents? They could just come and
Yep.
It was a 55 and older community. So everybody there was 5+. And Daddy went over there. I mean, it was amazing.
Wow. SubhanAllah.
A food program, right? Is that a food that the city gives? That stuff is garbage, man. We had a thing where we do 2 meals a week. We give people 2 meals a week, people who really were really poor. And a lot of them were poor. And the only reason they were staying there because it was a gated community, but took up most of the Social Security cut. And it gave them security. But they didn't have enough money to eat properly. So I do 2 meals a week. I would do a really good meal, a real good meal. Rabia will buy all of the materials, box them and everything. And I'd cook them. I always love to cook.
MashaAllah. Was that the greenback system? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Some of the workers or some of the people who live in the community are healthy, and I say, well, come on and help work in the garden. And they come and work in the garden. And for every hour that they work, they get a greenback. And a greenback, they come back when things got ripe and pick whatever they want, the value of the greenback, which is like a pound of this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
MashaAllah. That's amazing.
The
opportunities that you were providing for the community. I think that's amazing. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Let's look. What else did you do in North Carolina? Anything else that we need to talk about?
Oh, that's about it. Well,
Okay.
He taught my oldest son, Quran. He started teaching him and helping him learn Quran when he was there. Yeah, and memorize certain surahs.
MashaAllah. So Brother Abdur Rashid, how did you learn Quran? Let's talk about that.
don't know Quran.
No,
Video,
did.
whatever. I mean, that's why Lukman is coming here. Lukman knows Quran. Lukman's Hadith is a Hafiz. And we're gonna start up a school, inshallah. And if people come in the weekend or spend a week and just take Quran courses and stuff. But I know when I'm lacking at something, I look for the best.
Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you for teaching the Quran and may it serve as a sadaqah jariyah for you. Alhamdulillah. So you told me a little bit of LA. I know you was on the West Coast a little bit. It seems like every place you've been to, you established some type of school or farm, a garden, something.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about
The rooftop.
LA.
Hey, right, Daddy?
Uh-huh.
You had the rooftop garden in LA.
My son Hassan had a luxury apartment. Actually, we call it a luxury apartment in Hollywood, right on Hollywood Boulevard. Really, really nice apartment. And I made a rooftop garden up there on the Hollywood luxury apartments. But that program was just about the
But
yuppie
tell
side.
us about the other program you would tell us about going into certain neighborhoods and establishing gardens.
A brother named Ron
Gardening.
had an organization called Guerrilla Gardening. What guerrilla gardening used to do is go all through all the different black neighborhoods, like in South Central, places like that. And if it was vacant lots, they would establish gardens. Once the garden was established and growing, he would hand it over to like a church or a Boys and Girls Club in the community to distribute food every Saturday, right? So he's doing this all over South Central. And the thing was that, he didn't even ask people who owned the property. If the property had sitting for so long dormant, he would just go do it. And program was organized, and then some of the owners, were trying to take people to court. One owner tried to shoot a friend of mine named Juan. And it was getting ugly.
Wow.
I work with them, going to plant stuff. And Ron Finley is a good brother, man. I'm gonna tell you, he made up that slogan. Everybody in LA knows him. He made up that slogan, growing your own food is like printing your own money.
Yes.
Slogan. And I see it all over, yuppies use it all the time. And I know him, so I called him. I wanted to do a fundraiser for the farm, and I wanted to use that slogan on the fundraiser. So I called Ron, and I said, Ron, check this out, man. I want to use your slogan as a fundraiser on a T-shirt, but I want to give you a royalty. How much you charge? He said, man, you're the first person that ever did that. People use my slogan all over the country. I said, well, how much you gonna charge, man? Ron, I gotta give you something. He said, give me 50 cents a piece.
Oh, mashallah. Integrity.
That happened a month after I moved back to the East Coast. The city of Los Angeles came out and said any vacant lot that is owned by the city of Los Angeles can be used for a community farm. And Ron did that, man.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Shout out to Ron. Mashallah. Alhamdulillah. So this is amazing. I love this. I love everything about what you've done. This is amazing. May Allah bless you for everything. SubhanAllah. So I want to wrap it up a little bit. Is there anything else, Rabia, do you think that we should talk to Dad about?
Not that I can think of, but
Okay.
I just wanted to share like how much my siblings and I appreciate my dad for keeping us in Islam. It was never any pressure, never any force. It was just always beautiful experiences. And alhamdulillah, it's 6 of us. One brother, Abdul Malik, passed. May Allah be pleased with him and entered. But we're all practicing Muslims because of how my dad facilitated Islam for us. We appreciate it. Me and my sister especially talk about it all the time. Like we're so great. We're really grateful. So
you're gonna make me cry, and
make me cry.
I love you're gonna make me cry on this live. I mean to your dua.
I want to get back to Charlotte for a minute.
Okay.
I was going through a very bad period when my business went bankrupt, when the housing crisis and everything. I was going through a very bad period. My wife divorced me, a dog bit me, and Rabia helped me so much. She helped me.
Dog, Daddy? The dog.
The dog.
I remember the way you said it was funny.
I just want to thank you so much, dear, because you really helped me out those months that I lived with you before I moved to Senior Village. And when I went,
it wasn't months. And we were glad to have you. It was a good time, a bonding time. So, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Brother Abdur Rashid, we need some takeaways from this, inshallah. What advice do you have for the younger generation in terms of working to establish communities, schools, and leadership, right? What advice do you have for our generation?
Read and study. Read and study. You cannot be a critical thinker if you're totally dependent on your own cognitive biases. You have to go beneath those biases and see how they were created. If you're dependent on your own cognitive biases, you're going to be at the same place tomorrow that you are today. Read. Learn how to research. Learn what books to read. We are at a point in history that has never happened before. We have in the palm of our hands the written history of everything that was written and recorded for the last 500 years. There's no excuse to be dumb.
I know that's right.
Yeah, Daddy has read so many books. It's insane. Like he would get books, give them away, get books, read them, go to the library. I mean, I can't, Daddy, how many books do you think you've read? Like so many. It's crazy. About so
Alhamdulillah. Rabia, do you think that he influenced the reason why you are in the education field?
Probably because my formative years of school were in settings that he facilitated for us. And even like when we were in Rochester, those were some of the best years I had education-wise. So the other years were good too, but like in Islamic school that he had in Harrisburg and Rochester, TISO as well, because Sister Hasina, amazing, brilliant, still in contact with her to this day. Having her and having them in front of us helped facilitate our education and love for education. So yeah, I do think that's a big part of it.
Alhamdulillah. And speaking of TISO and Cleveland, your dad was saying like the school did so well that even non-Muslim children was coming to the school.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, we had some non-Muslim classmates. Yep. Yeah.
That speaks to the level of what is the word I want to use? The quality of the education there, right? So alhamdulillah, may Allah bless them. Sheikh Abdur Rashid, do you have any advice for parents nowadays that want to, set up an Islamic school or to send their children to Islamic school, but probably are struggling with that?
Start the question again, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, I put the phone on mute. Do you have any advice to like Muslim parents who want to establish, Islamic schools or home schools, but might find, struggles along the way?
Do it.
How to overcome those obstacles?
Do it. Look at every avenue that people are using to do what you want to do. The wheel does not have to be invented twice. It's there. The information is there. It's there. Google's your friend.
And Daddy, would you say relocate? Would you advise relocate if they don't have what they need in the area like you did with your kids?
Definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely. Hijra. In fact, I think all Muslims should relocate. Get some farmland and relocate to it now.
Inshallah. Oh, I want to ask you in terms of land and farm, there's been quite a few efforts from a lot of different either people move down to the south or in rural areas to start, buy land to start communities. Do you think that the Muslims have been successful with that? And what do you how do you feel about that?
It depends, it depends on the person actually and what they want to do and what the end game is, you know.
So
What things
how can someone find balance between wanting to like live a regular life, right? Like say for instance, still live amongst, people, right? Have a 9 to 5, but still want to kind of establish this Islamic village. Do you think that the both can
I
coexist?
think that the influence of capitalism and the state of affairs in America now is deteriorating people's Islam. They are accepting values that are not part of Islam. That was one of the main fights of Al-Ghazali when he was going against when he found that the Greek and Roman philosophies were creeping into Islam. That was one of his main values, main concerns, and he wrote 2 books about it. One he wrote on how to understand the philosophical values that were permeating Islam, and the next book he wrote the foolishness of and what were really the faults of it. He showed the people how to understand it, then he showed the people what to do against it. 2 books back to back. And I understand that the mind that you're dealing with, this is Plato's mind. If you take Plato's mind and the mind of the forefathers of America, same condition. Before the amendments of the Constitution, it was nothing but 1%. Same thing we have today. And
So basically, it sounds like he's saying being removed from the capitalist society is one of the only ways to do it.
Not the only way. It's one of the best ways. It's what the
But
prophet
do you
did.
think that Muslims should just take themselves out of the society and just live by themselves? Do you think that that is beneficial to
No,
dawah efforts and for the youth
I don't think
in
we have.
terms of
I think
socialization?
we have to look at the example of the Rasul. Hijra is one of the reasons that Islam survived. They moved to a community that was not hostile to them and was composed of Jews and Christians and maybe other religions too. But they had to take themselves out of Mecca or they would have killed them.
Sure.
And we're at a point now where the drift, I call it drift. How does it say, letting things become, accepting parts of the predominant culture that are destructive to Islam. You take, for example, the thing I was saying about the men and the women. You know, that their whole thing about, well, I'm the head of the household and I rule things here and I run things here. That's a Christian thing. Because what the Christians do is the Christians down women with this their original sin foolishness. There is no original sin in Islam. Everybody is responsible for their own sins. But they use that they don't use it verbatim, but they use that as an example and lean on that as what you are. And you're affected by it. They're affected by it. Like things we accept, things we're taught in school, you're starting in kindergarten, teaching people about transsexuals and all this here. That is predominant part of the culture now. That is what liberalism is. I mean, well, liberalism, but the word liberalism has gone through any changes in the last 150 years. But if you start with Adam Smith, the Wealth of Nations. The liberalism that he was teaching was closer to what Thomas Piketty teaches now. I think those are the best two books in depth on economics, and both will come to the same conclusion. And Adam Smith said way back, and ironically, Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations was printed in 1776. But he says that the European should try to make these nations business partners and associates as opposed to exploit them the way they do.
Sure. Wow. All right, Sheikh Abdur Rashid, alhamdulillah, I think we're going to wrap up for tonight.
Okay.
I just want to say, anything else that you want to say?
No, my battery's almost gone too.
Okay. I just want to say thank you for your contributions to building Islam in America, your passion, your dedication, your everything. Mashallah, thank you so much for all that you've done to establish schools, community, brotherhood, training, everything. Mashallah, such a dynamic person. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to bless you and may it weigh heavy on your scale in the hereafter. And we appreciate you. And inshallah, I hope that everybody that's tuning in that is hearing about your story and your legacy will learn from it. You know, I think that commitment is such a big thing that our generation is lacking. And I pray that we learn to be more committed to the things that is important to us and our communities, because it's necessary. We got to get in these trenches. We got to be like Brother Abdur Rashid and Sister Tahira. We gotta bring it back. We got to bring back the essence. So thank you so much. I don't want to start crying on this live because Rabia already had me tearing a little bit. But thank you so much. Alhamdulillah. So alhamdulillah, this concludes today's interview. Alhamdulillah, Monday, February 27th is our last pioneer interview with Sister Omi Rahim, inshallah. And yeah, so we're going to close with a dua, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. All right, y'all. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you, sweetie. Assalamu alaikum, daddy.
Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum, Abdur Rashid.
alaikum salam.